The role officially is an ex officio member of the school committee, voice but no vote. And I've really kind of wrestled with that over the last 2 years. What does that mean exactly? Am I there to represent the council, or am I a member of the committee without a vote? And what I've kind of come to the conclusion of over especially the last few months is that I am a member of the committee. The charter, I think, is pretty clear on that front. It took me a little bit of time to digest that. I think that there are things about it that go really well, right? So I am literally sitting there. Questions come up. We saw it just over the course of the last couple of school committee / town council meetings where there were questions about the audit report, for example. And members of the school committee had questions. I was physically there to be able to explain to them what the process was, when the council was going to speak of it, what I thought the outcomes would be, and I felt like that put the schools in a better position to not be blindsided, right? To be able to respond to and have a plan for the correction of the findings. I still think we can do a better job. Ironically, you were talking about open meeting law before. That still hinders you to some degree, because if a topic's not on an agenda, whether it's school committee or council, you can't just talk about it, right? So sometimes we'll drift into something, and I'm thinking to myself, this would be a really good time to talk about X. But really what I have to do is hold it, and then if it's on a council meeting, I've got to sort of add it to that agenda. If it's a school committee, I've got to liaise with the chair of that committee and ask them to put it on their agenda. Now you've got 2 weeks, maybe a month if it's the school committee delay. Maybe the topic's not so relevant anymore.
And what is the purpose of that? So that if a resident so a resident will know in advance that this is going to be addressed and I might want to participate?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to assume that's the logic of the open meeting law, is so that you're not just sliding things in. Especially, I mean, you see some of our meetings go pretty late. If something wasn't on the agenda, it'd be super easy to slide a topic in, and nobody would be any the wiser for it. So making sure that topics are on agendas keeps that spotlight on what your government's doing. So it is handcuffing, but probably appropriately so.
I agree. Imagine like a zoning bylaw, that would disrupt people's, residences in their homes, right? And we have a zoning bylaw that comes up, and we just slipped it in at the end of a meeting at 11 o'clock at night, right? And voted it through.
But you can't even
do that.
Bring it up to discuss it as part of like step one of a four-step process?
Yeah, you can't deliberate. You can't deliberate.
Wow.
You could mention it, right? And this happens all the time. Towards the end of the meeting, you'll hear somebody say, hey, I'd really like to talk about X. Mm-hmm. Can it be on the agenda? Now, typically, people are sending me stuff literally all the time that they want to talk about on the agenda, and I'm slotting it in and trying to figure out the right timing for everything. But I think sometimes something will come up in the meeting, and you want to advance it. Sometimes it's a little bit of a power play on the chair of whatever the committee is to make that ask in public. So you see both.